Welcome, my name is Terry and this video is about making some of these models like this one of the robot. This one is by Sillbbird. It's a kit that you can make up into various different types of robot. They're all shown on the back here. So there's plenty of variety and there's enough pieces to enable your child to adapt it and invent things of their own, which I think is important to actually design and build your own as well as just following the instructions. So when choosing something like this, a couple of important things to look out for is what age is it for. This is for age 8+. What level is it at? I think it says down here that this is a fairly basic, fairly easy build. It says here. It depends how much experience you've had of things like this before. This model is particularly of interest. It's got the STEM initials. It's part of developing your child's understanding of science and technology. This one is solar powered, which is quite interesting in terms of the environment and using green energy rather than batteries. Does mean it's slightly limited in where you can use it. It does need either direct sunlight or a bright light to power it. So it will work outdoors, although looking at the wheels and things, you'd want to use this on a pretty smooth surface and not get it too dirty. So you can't really put it on grass as opposed to, say, a Meccano, say, off-road vehicle that you could afford to put over rough terrain. What else to say about the choice of it? I think the other thing is that the skills involved in this are obviously following instructions, but it's mostly click together, as opposed to, say, a Meccano device, Meccano kits such as this motorbike, which again gives you a choice of models you can build, but this will require nuts and bolts to hold it together. And that can be an issue because they tend to come undone and then bits fall off, which can be quite frustrating. So back to the solar powered robot. First things I would say is it's important to think about where you're going to build your model. I think it's a good idea to have something like a tray because there's lots of little bits and the worst thing that can happen is you lose a part. That means you can't finish your model. It falls down the sofa, the dog eats it, or it ends up in the vacuum cleaner. So a tray like this with a raised lip will stop pieces falling off. We also need to think about what tools you require for it. It doesn't actually say on the outside of this box. You could probably Google it and ask people, but once you read the instruction manual, it does say on the introduction pages 2 things that you need. One is a pair of clippers, ideally something like this. Another thing it suggests you use is an emery board. So one like this that you would normally file your nails with. And in fact the kit does actually come with a small emery board. You might need to replace that over time. The reason you need the emery boards is that the parts come in a rack like this because they are made of plastic through an injection molding process. So this is hollow and it's all filled with plastic, and to get the pieces out you have to break them off. Now you can do it with your fingers, but over time little fingers might get quite sore doing that, and when you do break them off there'll be a little burr at the point at which it was contacted, and apart from getting scratched on it, this might actually stop the pieces fitting together properly. So you would use the emery board just to file off those particular pieces. Also a point to remember to be very careful when you're cutting a piece out not to actually cut the piece itself. So try and cut it quite near to the joint like this and here. And then, as I say, you will get a little burr. See if the camera can pick it up. Get my fingers out of the way. There's a little burr there that needs filing down where it came out the mold. I suggest you find something to put the pieces in so they don't get lost, because they are very small and you also need to keep track of which is which. So I've actually got an egg box here. You could use a little small tray, and various things, because it's important to keep track of the pieces, keep them together, and some of them are very similar. So when you start collecting the pieces for your model, you might want to label these compartments and say that's got E10 in it and that's got E7 or E8, because all the parts, each of these should be labelled. This one I think is A. If you look carefully, yes, on the grey there's a little letter A on there, and each of these parts is numbered. So in the instructions it'll refer to the letter and the number and tell you how many you need. So for example, wheels, say, tell you how many you need for each model. Okay, I think that's enough about getting started. So let's have a look at what model we might build. As I say, in this book there's a whole raft of different models you could build. The one I've chosen is the buggy bot. So I go to page 43 for how to build that. One of the reasons for choosing this is it's actually the same as the picture on the box. So it's a good one to start with because you can also see the colours of the parts. You can see there's some blue, some grey, some black. So that's another aid to helping you make it, that you can check you're putting stuff together because you can actually check the colours. So the first thing that is on the first page, this is model number 7, but hold the page up. First thing there is a list of parts. So what you need to do is get all those parts together before you start building and sort those out. So as I've shown you, you can cut them out of here. Some are bigger parts and some are much smaller. So for example, the body, the first thing on there is the body, which is these grey pieces here. These bigger pieces you can probably just twist a few times and break them out. But it's a lot quicker if you have got the cutters available. Just to snip that there and there. If your child's not used to using these, it's probably worth supervising them for a little while until they get used to it. Make sure they don't catch their finger as well. So there's half the body. There's another part of the body. And that comes out of there. This one's got 3 points where it's fitted. 1, 2, 3. And then those two will go together. I'll have to look at the picture, see how that works. And then there's the head. And there are 4 wheels. The wheels are, I believe, these here with the holes in. So again, 3 snips and we'll get a wheel out. 1, 2, 3. These are big enough not to need to put in the egg box or in the sorter. Now these will definitely need those burrs taken off because they're going to have to go round and round. So again, just a light rub. Feel that it's smooth, a little bit more. Don't overdo it. You don't want to file it down and make a flat on your wheel. Okay, you get the idea there. So I'll put my 4 wheels over here. Whoa, careful. Did you see that? It's shot off in all directions. Little burr on there. Probably need something to put the rubbish in as well. So there will be bits that come off. And of course rubbing this is going to make a little bit of dust. So again, that's why it's useful to have it on the tray. You won't get dust all over the dining room table or on the floor. Final thing to remember about health and safety is these small parts could be a choking hazard. If you have a younger sibling, make sure they're not able to access these things unsupervised. Again, it's another good reason for keeping it on the tray. You can put it out of the way, out of reach, and keep it away from pets who might be curious, and particularly dogs might want to play with the parts and chase it. Okay, I'm going to pause this briefly and collect a few more bits up together and then come back. So I've collected here part C2. These are much smaller. So I found these in the same way. This is called board C, and these parts were numbered 2 up here. There are 4 of these. I'm filing them down as I collect them, and I'm putting them in the same space in my egg box so I keep them together, because some of the pieces are very similar, so it's important to know the difference between them. I've probably said that before, but I'm reinforcing the point here. Okay, a couple of points to share here. It might be worth having a pencil, and as you get the various parts, just ticking them off lightly so that you know you've got those pieces. So I'm just putting a tick against each box, checking the number where I've got to. The other thing about using the emery board, might be an idea just to put it flat on the table rather than hold it in your hand. Seems to work better if you put it flat on the table and just rub the piece. Can't quite see that from the camera, but it's flat on the table. I'm just rubbing the piece like that. Again, there is a fair bit of dust, so I'm trying to keep all the dust and things in one place. Trying to keep everything tidy, and I'm putting all my pieces that go together in a same compartment in my egg box. So I don't know if you can see into the egg box. The cogs are in that one, the little blue ones are in there, and so on. I think I'm going to label those places in the egg box. It might not be necessary, I might be able to recognize them all, but I think it might be useful to put the numbers against them, because later on in the instructions they refer to parts by those letters and numbers. It can be a bit tricky finding the letters and numbers on these boards. So look for it. Sometimes it's in the corner. Look for the bigger one, which has the letter. That's the letter E, and then the numbers tend to go from one side to the other. So this starts with 1 and 2 up here, and 4, 5, 6, and then it goes up 7, 8, 9, 10. So they are kind of in sequence. You can see here I needed 8 of these. 2, 4, 6, 7. Oh, I didn't quite get enough. I need that one as well. So there's my 8. So I probably should have counted them off when I ticked them. So I've got 8 of those. So I'm getting through collecting the parts. There's 10 of these little beasties. These are definitely very similar to the piece I've just taken out. So this is the point about labeling it. That piece and that piece are different, and yet to my untrained eye they look the same. So definitely need to keep these separate. Another thing to observe is that when I suggested you could use a larger pair of pliers, it doesn't really work that well, because you need the small claw on here to actually fit into the gap at the side of these pieces. Not sure you can see that, but it needs to be quite a small pair of pincers that will go in there. Second thing is, if you cut them off, the first one and then the second one, they do tend to fly off all over the place. So it's best to be holding it as you cut it through, or maybe leave one of them on and then twist it off the last one, so that you don't lose the pieces and them flying across the room.